Hello folks, this is Steve AB4L. Nothing in this episode is a promotion nor is a recommendation. Now, earlier this evening something happened that actually startled me. Let's see if I can reproduce it to show you what. Now, I was in the other room with one of my computers and I wanted to do what I call a preview download of the December Windows 10 monthly security updates, etc. But I'm always leery about that. So on that computer, I wanted to make a clone image of my main drive in case Microsoft screwed something up. I could immediately restore back to before I foolishly tried to download it, before they had enough time to fix all the bugs they've released for December. It's a little bit of editorialization. Now, you use one of these. It's a USB 3. It's got a micro SD card. This is something I've been using for 6 months. I didn't have it in the other room. I had it in here. I didn't want to come in here. So, well, I've got another one with something else on it I don't care about. Why don't I just download and do it there? It's called Clonzilla. You know, like Godzilla? Clonezilla. You can read all about it. It's Linux-based cloning software that understands, among other things, not only Linux file systems, but Windows new NTFS, new technology file system that undergirds Windows. So you go to the download, and the current stable version, which apparently was put out there fairly recently, because I've been using this version for 6 months, is called 3.2.0-5. Now this is only up to version 3. I've been using Clonezilla for 15 years, definitely more than 10, but something like 15 years. So the version progression has been very slow, but we'll say steady. So it doesn't cost anything. Now, mine is a x86, 64-bit. I don't want a zip file. I want what's called ISO. ISO files are the file system format is like on DVDs and CDs. So we're going to download it. It's free. Doesn't take long. It's like 75% downloaded. It's been downloaded. Thank you, SourceForge. Now, I can't make this larger. I just downloaded this one. That's the current version. The version that I have been using for 6 months and I was going to put on another one in there is this one here, 3.1.2 dash. Now let me just show you. See, it looks like a regular file system to Windows. And right up here in the name of the device, 3.1.2-22-AMD64. And this is from like 6 months ago. That's what's on there now. Now, in order to make a fresh one, to overwrite whatever on the micro SD card, I use something called Rufus. There are alternatives, but I use Rufus. And I can't make it larger, but up here, it already knows that I have a USB adapter with a micro SD card in it with a visible file system. and it even reads the title, 3.1.2-C. I used this to make that 6 months ago. But I want to show you what startled me earlier today when I was in the other room. Now, I'm simply going to overwrite this with the very same version that I put on it 6 months ago. Did you follow what I just said to you? So here's Rufus. This is the device, and it shows me what's on there in case I keep me from making a mistake of wiping out something that's valuable. Oh, I didn't mean that one. But in here, I have to say disk or ISO image, please select. And what I can do is, now we're looking on the hard drive in this, the main drive in this computer. The one I downloaded is 320-. No, I want to put the same one I've been using for 6 months, just like I was going to do in the other room. See, this is very repetitive, but I want you to understand the shock. So what I do is I drag it to here and drop it. It knows where it is to read it, open it, and put an image in there onto this thing. And I say start. And it says the image you've selected is an ISO hybrid, blah, 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 and I want to say write an ISO image mode recommended. I agree, but I could change it to something that's very Linux. No, ISO image, okay, and then I get this. And I can't make it larger. So how can I let you see that? Image, resize, 300%. Okay, now you can read it too. Revoked UEFI bootloader detected. Huh? What? Rufus, the guy who programmed this software that takes ISO files and makes them into bootable devices, Rufus detected that the ISO, the file I selected, you have selected, contains a UEFI bootloader. When you turn your computer on, there's a certain location controlled by what's known as the BIOS, where it looks for the code needed to start running the CPU in the memory and do all the checking and see what kind of hardware it is, and then find the code that's needed to load into memory and then execute in order to start the computer up and then to load and start Windows in this case, or Linux in another case. All right? The UEFI bootloader, boot the computer, that has been revoked. What? And that will produce a security violation screen. Security violation? I've been using this for 6 months. See, I'm acting like I did in the other room. When secure boot is enabled on a fully up-to-date UEFI. Now, on this Windows machine, I have a choice in the BIOS, Basic I/O System, Input-Output System. They still call it that. It's not like the original one. One of the systems that Windows Microsoft prefers you to have set is what's called Secure Boot. And it does an additional inspection and looks for a certain kind of cryptographic signature on the thing you're trying to read from to boot the computer. For your safety. But I have it turned off on all my machines. So this means that even if I were to boot up this thing after I reload the same image I've been using for 6 months, I probably wouldn't have known about it and haven't known about it because I made an image in here earlier today using this thing and it didn't tell me anything. But it wasn't until I was using the same 6-month-old ISO image in the other room that I suddenly get this. Then it says if you obtained this ISO image from a non-reputable source, well, I got it from Clonzilla. Everybody knows who Clonzilla is. It's in Japan. You should consider the possibility that it might contain a boot malware and avoid booting from it because it's going to crap your computer out and spy on you and cheat you in everything. If you obtained it from a trusted source, you should try to locate a more up-to-date version that will not produce this warning. Now, I know this is already technically maybe over some people's head already. But what's an implication of this warning message if I have never received it before today? The guy who writes this particular software called Rufus is pretty cutting edge in terms of security. He's been doing it for a long time. That's why I use it. And what it implies is, when I started up Rufus in order to do this, and I pointed to the image that I want to burn onto that USB adapter, it called home, ET called home, saying what it was I was trying to use as an image source. And it instantly got a message back saying, give them the warning. So this malware has only been discovered recently. Because the last time I made one of these was probably 3 weeks ago. From the same very image that I'm trying to use. So between about 3 weeks ago and now, somebody at Clonzilla or a security firm discovered that they had been snookered there in Japan. Somebody snuck in on them. Bad boys. At least 6 months ago. You follow my logic? So what are they telling me to do? Don't burn this image. Get a newer one. So I say cancel. It would have let me go, but I say cancel. Do I have a newer version? Now remember, what's on there I've been using for 6 months. And now it's called poison. Here's 320-5, a newer version. Definitely newer. So I drag and drop it, and now it says I know I'm going to put that one on there. Start. Yes, write an ISO image. Warning, everything on that drive right now on that micro SD card is going to get wiped out. Okay. No warning. No warning. It's building it right now. See it down there? See the green line moving? It's going to take it a minute. Now, I haven't done this yet. Clonezilla Clonzilla UEFI malware detected. SourceForge, September 28th, 2020. That's not the one. Stack Overflow, 2020. None of these are up-to-date messages. These are all old messages. Am I doing the wrong thing? Clonzilla UEFI malware detected. Clonzilla security boot violation. 2021. SourceForge, 2020. I haven't done this search yet. I wanted to wait until I was doing this with you. None of these are there's nothing recent. So let's go to Clonezilla News. I haven't looked. This release of 320-5, that's the one we're putting on there now, underlying Linux operating system upgraded, yeah. Linux kernel updated, yeah. Removed wireless tools from live system, RICE support program, OSSCAN, that's, I don't see anything here that suggests these are all the steps preceding, and I don't see any big deal news. Screenshots, live CD, live server, download, live testimonials, lecture materials, related articles. I don't see anything. Now here's the question. Who do I trust? Rufus. Create bootable USB drives the easy way. He knows I'm in the United States. Rufus is a utility that helps format and create bootable USB flash drives, such as USB keys or pen drives, memory sticks, etc. You create a USB installation media for bootable iOS, Windows, Linux, UEFI, etc. Supported languages needs to be at least Windows 8. Frequently asked questions. I'm just looking to see if they have anything. Oh, wait a minute now. This is the first time I'm looking. Changelog, version 4.6, 24.10.21. I'm using version 4.6. They did something needed because Windows 11 has a new requirement. They have time zone regional options. They allow you to do something to do with passwords. Fixed error trying to write compressed VDH images. Oh, no. Fix an error when invoking Rufus from a PowerShell. No. Improve revoked UEFI bootloaders. Check to support Linux SBMAT and Windows SVN and CertDBX. So what does this link go to? This is the first time I'm reading it, seeing it. Before following these steps for applying the mitigations, install Windows Monthly Servicing Update at least after July 9, 2024. Remember, I've been using a version that's at least 6 months old. This update includes mitigations for CVE, but they're not involved. Secure boot security feature bypass vulnerability. May 9th, 2023. Something from Microsoft. Very important. To successfully exploit the vulnerability, an attacker who has physical access in Ministry S. This is all over my head. But it has something to do with bypassing secure boot. Now I said earlier that I don't have secure boot turned on. And so what this means is that in the boot up code, that Linux boot up code used to support this application, Linux boot, there's special images where you have a utility that runs under Linux. You don't want to have to figure out how to do that onto a USB stick. They have packages where it's already all done. All you do is add your stuff on top. That's basically what this is. And what they're saying is that there was a bug in that allowed malicious, that when it booted under Windows, even with the secure boot feature turned on your Windows BIOS, it still could sneak past during the UEFI inspection phase, safety inspection phase. So it wasn't Clonzilla itself. It is in the underlying version of Linux that in a Windows context of booting under UEFI, they can sneak in and screw you. And so that's what the update actually is. The fixed Linux UEFI kernel portion. So it won't happen. Would it have booted anyway without warning me? Yes, because I have secure boot turned on. My personal decision. Now this is a big, long, technical. You know, folks, I hardly know anything about computers anymore. But I figured it out. It's interesting. I won't say Clonzilla. I'll say Linux secure UEFI secure boot violation. A Linux UEFI secure boot violation means that when trying to boot your Linux system, so I'm booting with the pen drive, which has a Linux system on it, on a UEFI enabled computer, which this is, with secure boot turned on, So the secure boot per se is not a Windows feature, but Windows wants you to have it turned on by default. The system is unable to verify the bootloader or kernel as trusted code, resulting in an error message preventing the system from booting properly. This usually happens because the Linux distribution boot components aren't signed with a certificate recognized by your system's secure boot database. Or to put it as the CVE said, someone figured out how to get around the current code that was in the boot up UEFI part of the Linux thing. And that's been fixed, and that's a part of the newer version. And Rufus has a feature where every time I try to use it and say use this as the image, it actually calls home to ask, is there a problem? And the answer was instantaneously, yes. But that's a recent difference since about 3 weeks ago. Let me just tell you something. The stuff I've been going through is the beginner stuff, so to speak. It's just scratching the surface of all the complexity underneath. Anyway, that's enough. I was shocked by that message. And I decided that I would investigate it and make a episode at the same time. And I've been smart enough still to have actually figured it out close enough. Steve A. before you, just having fun, saying see you in 73.